I remember listening to the stories that Bear Evers would tell. Bear was an old logger, and I guess he deserved the nickname. They always said after they loaded logs on his wagon, he always had to go around with his shoulder and readjust them. Although I didn't know him when he was younger, of course, I worked with him when he was old at Main Brothers. He used to tell me that when he was just a kid, he was working in the woods at the Mule Barn Hollow, north of Belknap. They had as many as 30 head of mules at a time when the loggers were skidding the timber down to the Cache River, later on to be rolled into the cache and floated on down to Main Brothers. It was his job to have the mules all fed and harnessed and ready to go to work by daylight. If he didn't, well, I guess he just about got a thrashing from the logging crew, so he was seldom late. But he never had to watch. He told me that many a time he'd jump up and hurry to get the mules all ready to go. Took him at least 30 minutes or more, and then he would hear that midnight train go down the Burlington track. Bear used to tell me about living at the logging camp and how hard it was to get and keep a good cook. Nobody wanted to cook. They wanted to work with the cutting and the skidding and the loading crews where they could make more money. If somebody was appointed to cook, they sometimes did their best to do a poor job so they'd get fired and could go back to the woods. He said that one time somebody had given the cook a hog's head. Some farmer, I guess, that was killing hogs. Bear said that the fella got the head in a wash tub, put some potatoes and carrots around it, and put it on the fire. When the crews come in for dinner, starved to death, he said there was that old dirty hog's head, its blue eyes glaring, its mouth gaped open, teeth shining, its tongue all lolled out. But Bear said they were so hungry they ate it, almost every bit of it. I can imagine that they must have been hungry. I know people were tough around Foreman where we live because our neighbor, Mr. Porter, told me about a section hand on the railroad that got his leg cut off by the train. That was on the Big 4 railroad crossing down here at Radnor. It dragged him a quarter of a mile down the track. But Mr. Porter said that pretty soon here he came, hopping back to the depot and carrying his leg. He had to go to Mr. Porter's aunt to get the bleeding stopped. She was the one who could stop blood. And he got along just fine. He had to whittle out his own wooden leg, Mr. Porter said. Mr. Porter was the one who told me that he and his brother used to build fence. They contracted jobs by the mile. He said that they would load the wagon with all the posts and the wire and the staples and the hammers they'd need for a job, and then his brother, who was younger, would drive the team. Mr. Porter would stand on the coupling pole, and he'd drive the post in the ground with a sledgehammer instead of having to take time to dig holes, and then he'd tack 3 strands of barbed wire onto the posts as they were moving along. He told me that once they got started, the team rarely had to stop.